Black Carnivores, welcome back to part two of this fascinating conversation with Cherie, the van lifer who is following the carnivore diet. So I just wanted to remind you where we left off last time was talking about a tent that she sets up outside and cooks inside of. And, I think you're going to really love the second half of this conversation. So just sit back and enjoy. And if you missed the first half and, you're just tuning into this part two, the link is down below for part one. I encourage you to watch that too. And, let's get right back into it.
Like I only camp on in forest lands, state trust land, and Bureau of Land Management land. So I have a shower tent. I also have a screen house that has panels I can put on the screens to kind of block out everything, and I can cook in there. I can do whatever I need to do in there. I usually cook the
Wait,
screen
I'm
house.
sorry. What is a screen house?
It's basically a tent that has screens on the walls instead of like solid walls. So
So
it
that you're protected from like mosquitoes and stuff.
right.
But
So
there's a roof.
right, so there's a roof and there's also panels that you can get and to put on the outside of the screen. So if you wanted the privacy, you could. You just put the panels on. So the panels are solid.
But
But
then you wouldn't be able to see anybody approaching.
right. So you because the panels are made out of fabric, so you can actually just pull a corner down and make windows out of them too. So if you just pull a corner down, you can have a
Gotcha.
little corner window and stuff. So I don't sleep in there or anything like that. I just put that up when I want to cook or if I want to split a place to set up a table and work from, which I've done. Then I do it in the screen house. And also I have my
How long
mhm.
does it take to set one up? I mean, I guess I'm sort of imagining a big tent like, when I used to go to summer camp, we had these big tents that were on platforms, and I imagine like that, that's like a pretty big activity. Or is it really quick to put up the screen house?
It's really fast to put up the screen house because what I have is a clam shelter and they make different types of these. I've seen them actually also as ice houses as well for ice fishing, but they're basically these quick tents that you just pull. They have these metal things in the middle of each wall and you just literally just pop them out. So it will go up in less than 2 minutes. You just pop them and it's a fairly decent sized tent too. It's not like, I mean, you can get at least like 4 people in there, just sitting down with chairs. So it's not like it's a small tent, but they go up really easy. And to collapse them, you just pop the middle of the walls in, and it just folds right up.
Gotcha. Okay, that's pretty cool. So you cook in okay. So I was going to ask about, how you do your cooking. I mean, I see again when I watch these van life videos like these elaborate kitchens and ovens and stove tops and stuff. I've seen some where they have it set up in the back and they pull out like a drawer,
hmm
something some kind of hot plate that's run by like a propane tank. But sounds like you're not doing any kind of indoor cooking. So what does that look like for you?
Um, I actually do cook indoors. Okay, so but I just started like recently. Like when I first started, I would never think to cook in the van. Just because I it just seemed I just I just automatically ruled it out without actually thinking about how I could actually do it. But it only takes one super cold day for you to be like, I'm gonna try to make it some type of way inside the van. So like I typically would cook in the tent when I first started. So I put my little screen tent up, throw the table out there, and I have a single burner camp stove, and I would just cook. And then also I had built a camp kitchen on the back. I had a different cargo carrier on the back of the van when I first started, and I built a camp kitchen on the entire cargo carrier. There's actually a article for it by somebody else online where they kind of show you how they built their kitchen. But basically, I made it out of plywood or whatever, and it looks just like something that you might have out on your back to grill with or whatever. It was just a kitchen that I built on the back. I used that a couple times, but then it became cumbersome, and so I just went back to the tent. But one day it was super, super, super cold outside. And so I just said, I'm going to cook in the van. And I've been cooking in the van off and on ever since. Because right now, n- really not that long after I started on the road, I actually turned my passenger seat backwards, so that it faces, the back of the van instead of forward, which gave me a ton of more room. And then I can use it as, this is basically my office, my living room is my passenger seat, uh, facing the opposite direction that it normally would. And so I can set up a table. There's all this space in front of me here. So I can set up a table and just cook. And I have my my roof fan. So I turn the roof fan on. I pop out my side passenger window, and it draws in the air from outside and up through the fan vent and out the van. So I do that when I'm cooking.
So what is your cooking style? I mean, that sounds like maybe you pan fry or you can grill like, over charcoal, but is there any other way that you can cook or how do you do that?
I typically I have a cast iron set, the combo set that's like a pot, and it has the frying pan and they go to get, like, you can put it on top and use it as a Dutch oven as well. So I'll use that for all kinds of stuff. I'll use it as a Dutch oven. I've cooked like ribs in it, where I've boiled the ribs first and then put them on the grill, like in that cast iron on the camp stove. So
Wait, okay, so I'm just trying to envision that. So you use it like a Dutch oven where you put the lid on and then you put the whole thing in or on top of the fire, and that's so instead of being in an oven, it's just on the campfire itself.
right. So you could use it like that, and that's what a lot of people use it for. Like, if I don't really cook on like a fire when I'm out here. I don't actually typically build a fire when I'm out here either. But you could use it for that. I use it actually on my camp stove, which is run by one of those little propane things, the little small, like 1 pound propane cylinders. Um, I just put the whole thing on there. You can still just put the top on there and it'll still cook it like it's in an oven.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay. So you
Hmm.
have access to like grilling, pan frying, and oven type cooking.
Yes.
So for something like, I mean, would you cook something like, short ribs, which might need, 4 hours braising in a Dutch oven?
Yep.
Would you do that for 4 hours? Like, I don't know how much protein that takes or.
It actually lasts a lot longer than you think. And I was shocked because that's exactly how I learned that it would last a lot longer than you think. It's like I'd bought some ribs and they were short ribs and I just put them out. At the time I was close to the Grand Canyon. So I didn't build a fire. It wasn't a fire. I just actually put my camp stove with the propane outside, and I put it on some rocks, and then I sat the Dutch. Well, it's like the pot, and then you got it's not really a Dutch oven, but I was using it like a Dutch oven, and I put the water in there, and I put the ribs in there, and I let it cook for 4 hours. I did have to switch propane, so I had to use two of those 1 pound propane tanks. Um, and it and I
Okay.
let and I let that cook, and I let them get to where they were like almost falling off the bone type of deal. But also, if you wanted to, you could also buy one of the bigger propane tanks. I could have probably put it out on my cargo carrier, but I don't really bother with the bigger ones. But you could, and hook that up to your camp stove and let it run. So you could do it that way as well. The
Is
possibilities,
propane expensive or yeah.
not really.
Okay.
I haven't bought the bigger one, the ones in the bigger tank, but I can't imagine they're that expensive, and it lasts a really long time. And then those the smaller 1 pound ones, and even the cans of butane, they really last a long time. Like, I find that I don't have to replenish those very often. And also I eat once a day too, so that could be it, why they last me a long time as well. Um, but
Yeah.
propane is really really good gas for cooking and stuff like that. When I was in Ecuador, that's actually all they used. You didn't use electricity for like hot water and stuff. It was always propane.
And
And it would
you feel safe with it? Like you haven't had a leak or anything like that?
I haven't had any issues, and it took me a while. Actually, if I had not lived in Ecuador, where you have no choice but to use the propane, and even then, it took me a while to get comfortable with it because I was afraid of it. Um, but once I lived there for 3 years, and there's no getting around it, so I had to get used to it now, and I had to also just kind of understand the risks and stuff and how to protect from that. Now I actually don't keep propane inside the van, which is one of the reasons why I needed to have my cargo carrier, because there's just some stuff that I just didn't want inside the fan, and that was one of them. Because I also have a diesel heater, and so the diesel fuel that I use for it, I need to have also outside.
Oh, okay. I was gonna ask, like, is the van insulated? Can you do winters okay? And what do you do for heat? So you have like a separate heater, so you don't have the car on.
Right. So when I first started, it's just funny because I really underestimated what I didn't spend any type of winter in any really extremely wintry places when I first
Oh, that's
started.
right. You said you're from Florida, so you don't even
Right.
know what winter is like.
But
You're like, oh, it's 50 degrees. That's winter. Yeah.
I go back and forth because I did live in upstate New York for 10 years as well. So
Oh, okay.
I did
So you know
understand.
winter.
Yeah, yeah. So I knew winter, but um when I got on the road, I really didn't like. I had gotten a 0 degree sleeping bag, so and some blankets and stuff. So I was like, oh, okay, this is fine. But it was not, and so I spent my first winter just learning. Really, like I went and got like an electric blanket, and I still use it. There's the smaller ones you can just plug right into your cigarette lighter, and they'll last pretty much enough for you to sleep. They won't last 24 hours, but you're not sleeping 24 hours, so it would last me. But I knew that that was not going to be enough, and it was cozy in the sleeping bag, but then I didn't want to get out of the sleeping bag. So like, I knew eventually I was going to need a different solution. So like last winter when it was approaching, I bought a diesel heater, which, from my understanding, is what most they use in most of the big rigs, the big trucks. And it's the size of a little shoebox. It's very small. It doesn't even get hot on the outside of it, and it uses diesel to heat with a dry heat. It's like the best thing I have gotten for this van. I can't even talk about it enough. Because the it doesn't use very much fuel, and it doesn't use very much power, and it puts out a lot of heat. Like on the lowest setting, I could be comfortable in probably, like, I would say at least 10-degree weather, and I would never be someplace where it's 10 degrees. So if I can move, you know what I'm saying? So
Right.
um I've been in some cold weather where I was just so happy I had this heater. I didn't know what to do, especially coming.
Yeah. Well, so did you insulate the inside of the van, or I'm just sort of imagining like you ripped up the carpet and it's just like the metal and all the, the stuff that is part of the exterior.
Yeah, and no, I did not insulate the van, and I know that all of that was in the plan when I was gonna do a bus and everything. But when I got the van, um, I really just felt like it wasn't necessary. So I don't know if I'd be the best example for like what what to do. And not It's been fine for me, but I'm just so I just when I took all of the plastics off the walls and stuff, and all the carpet was up, so if you looked inside the van, it was just bare metal. And I just put the plastic right back on. Now there's a little bit of a there's a air gap between the plastics, and so that does do something for uh the
Oh, okay. But you're not like sitting and standing and directly touching the bare metal. I guess that was the
right.
question I was
Right,
thinking
right,
of.
right. And I kept the headliner because the headliner is actually very thick insulation that matters, because like when I took this headliner out for one day, I could feel the huge difference, and I couldn't get this thing back up fast enough. So it made a huge. So I made sure I kept the headliner. on the roof, and then all the plastics. And I put a rug down on the floor. So I haven't been like in here on bare metal. I have a rug. I've had a rug the whole time.
Okay.
Um, and then as far as, oh, I have reflectix on all the windows as well, which um if anybody is tempted to skip that, I would not, because it really does make a huge difference. And that's why all the van lifers and all the people who are nomads and are in RVs use it, because it does work to keep the sun from turning your vehicle into a hot box from the windows. So I have reflectix on
Right.
all the windows, especially if I'm moving. I put it on the windshield, the driver's window, and the passenger window, all the windows. So you don't have to keep it on there if you're going to park your rig so that the sun is only on one side, which is typically what I do. So then I can have one side without the reflectix on it and be able to look
Mhm.
out.
But in winter, you'd want that heat, right?
Yeah, but it kind of doesn't work that way. As Because on one hand, if you take the reflectix out, it gets too cold, and you can
Mm,
feel the cold coming through the glass too. If
gotcha.
I'm sleeping in the back, so I do still keep it on even in the winter time.
Okay. So if somebody is considering who is currently doing van life and considering carnivore, what would you say are the benefits, and how should they go about doing it?
Well,
I,
I
I don't have a van life audience, but just in case anybody,
think,
I'm going to use the hashtag, and just in case somebody landed here who, is interested in
yeah,
that.
I would definitely say that the benefits are that you have access, and your lifestyle provides you access to farms and to meats that you can just go and get, and you don't have to wait for your local grocery store to carry it. And the prices are a lot cheaper. I went to this one farm in Utah, in northern Utah, um, that had prices that were so cheap. It was just a family farm, and they had a store on the property, and the price was so cheap. Like, I got a bunch of stuff, and when she rung it up, it was only like $40, and I had a lot of stuff, like a lot of meat, and I had 2 gallons of raw milk. I had a lot of stuff that would normally be extremely expensive in the grocery store, and I was like, well, if it's only $40, I gotta go buy more stuff. And so I just went back to the little coolers and got more stuff. So you have access to better meats, and you know direct relationships with these people. If you want to go to a farm and actually build relationships with those people, you can, and that's going to be beneficial to you. And then you have access to all of this wild game out here, as far as different types of meats, because I found that it was important too, for me personally, to get more variety and to stop eating like just one type of meat. Just for the sake of not getting bored with the food and being tempted to cheat because you're bored with the food. Just having a variety, and then plus nutrition wise, being able to access different types of meats and seafoods and things like that have been beneficial. And I have that. I can go get crayfish out here. I can fish, get all different, have access to all different types of fish, no matter what state I'm in. If I'm in Florida, or if I'm in Louisiana, or if I'm, in some of the northern Michigan or some other northern state, I have access to a variety of different types of seafood. And that's what you get if you're out on the road, is a variety of different things that you have access to, that you wouldn't have access to, or you wouldn't have access to cheaply if you were stationary someplace. um
Right.
so
So what's Oh, go
mhm.
ahead. Well, I was going to say, what is your experience like as a black woman on the road? I mean, like, can you roll up into any farm and it's fine, or are they sometimes like, hey, why are
I
you here?
You
Are
know
you
what?
lost?
It's funny because, like, I've had no issues, because I go to certain because I was traveling the US in various ways prior to this, like, since the 1990s. So there's certain states that I just stay out of. Um because I don't know. I might trickle into some of them eventually, once I get a bearing, get a little bit more comfortable. But right now, there's certain states that I stick to as far as going. Uh, Arizona has not been an issue. I haven't had an issue with Arizona, which I spend a lot of time in. I feel the people here are not friendly, but that's fine with me. That's just the way that they are. But I also don't really go to too many farms here. But in Utah, a place that a lot of people had questions about, those same type of
Mm-hmm.
questions, I have like had zero issue to. I mean, like I feel it's just weird. My experience there has been that people go out of their way to talk to me, and they're
Hmm.
friendly, and it's genuine. It's not like some they just trying to figure out what I'm doing in a town type of deal, type of deal. Like they're genuinely friendly and curious. And when I go to the farms and stuff, they just they're helpful, they're nice to me. I had no side eye type of moment where I'm like, okay. So I've had some good experience, definitely some good experiences out here on the road. I've had people where I've broken down that have helped me. Um, you know, so it's been very interesting. But like I said, some states I'm hesitant to go in. Like Idaho. My friends are like, "Oh, we're going to Idaho. You want to come?" I'm like, "No, I do not." I
Were
just
your friends white or black or?
they're white. They were white, and I was like, "No." I lived in Idaho for a little while, back in the '90s, and I know that Idaho has one of the largest. They have the largest, not one of the largest, hate groups in the United States. I'm not going in there in a van, just by myself hanging out in the middle of the woods, because it's something that you really do still have to think about whether you're a black person or not, a single person in general, whether you're a male or female. You have to be aware of where you are when you're in the middle of the woods, because when I'd say that I'm in the middle of nowhere, I literally mean it. Like there's no one around where I'm at right now. I'm actually the only person camped right here. So
It's so hard to imagine. Like I've, spent so much of my life in the city, and it's hard to imagine how much open and free space where like there's just no one in the
yes.
United States.
Yes, and this is why when anybody tells me there's too many people on the planet, I know that they just have no idea what they're talking about. Because like I've
Well,
literally
yeah, we hear that all the time that like the population has just grown too much. And I'm like,
it's like no,
really?
no. I just feel like it's such a ridiculous thing to say, because it really doesn't take very much for you to realize um how underpopulated the actual planet is. But just even okay, say for instance, when I went to Ecuador, when I got there, I came into a city on the coast, and so I needed to drive into the mountains. It's a 7-hour drive. That whole 7 hours of driving, we hardly saw anybody. And there were times where we actually saw no one for hours. And it was just nothing but pristine, beautiful mountain country. And that's just in a small, Ecuador is very small. It's a small country. And then you get here, and I can drive and I could be camped somewhere for at least like a week and not see one person, one human being. And I'm sure there's places that I can actually go and never see a person for probably a year or more like that, because there's really people just don't understand. Like, especially if I was to drive someplace and then hike into, like, say to a lake, or hike to some other, like, into the forest, you could be there and never see a person. I've definitely been camped out places where I haven't seen anybody for days and days and days. And I'm like, look, let me break camp and go, like, remind myself that there's civilization somewhere, and then I'll come back. But There's
Well, I have
definitely.
questions about that. So you said
Hmm.
that you have friends who are like, "Hey, let's go to Idaho." So
Yeah.
how does like a friendship, socializing, human interaction, non-human interaction happen on the road? Like I see, sometimes when I watch these van life videos, it seems like there's groups of vans that are, they're traveling together, but how does that work? Do you make friends on the road? Do you go to these meetups or conferences for van life folks?
Yeah, that's a great question, because like my first year out, I was by myself the entire time, which I'm very glad for that, because I was able to learn how to live out on the road by myself for a year. And I swear 2020 was the best year of my life. I ain't even gonna lie, because it was just nobody was on the road. And so I was exploring. I felt so free. I didn't have anybody else's influence. I can literally experience every all of my
Wait, was 2020 your first year on the road?
it kind of was, because like I kind of was on the road in 2019, but that was because I was in between house sits. But when I the my last house sit was December of 2019, and after that I didn't do any more house sits, and I was 100% on the road for all of 2020.
Wow. That's a very unique time to have done it.
Yeah, and I think that that's why it was the most awesome year of my life. To be honest, I know that's not the it's not to make light of what was going on in 2020, but the reality is I was out in nature the entire time without any interference or without any restriction. And then like this whole like learning what you need and what you don't need. I didn't have to go to the store all the time, and that's another thing that's changed for me, is that I need less things. I don't have to spend money on things that I thought I needed to spend money on. So like last year, I was truly out in the element, and I could see the land, the animals. I saw so many animals I'd never seen before. Just um, uninterrupted. Nobody was in a rush. The people who were out on the road were not in a rush. Whereas now that everybody's back out on the road, you know, people are just they're running me off the road because I don't have nowhere to be, so I'm not in a rush. So so the energy has changed. Whereas last year, it was very free, carefree. I was fishing, just relaxing out in the woods, and, I didn't grow up that way. I didn't grow up camping or anything like that. So to be able to be out in the woods and not have to worry about anything, and I was just doing whatever, and I did not feel unsafe at all, ever.
Wow, that sounds so idyllic. Um, can you still capture that feeling like when you're camping, or has the vibe changed like everywhere?
I still feel like I can capture that. This year has been a strange year for me, but I do think that next year will be a revisit of that. I think it's going to be like that going forward. This has been a transition year, because when you asked about socializing and stuff, um there's no events that I went to last year, but at the beginning of this year, I went to a van build, because the nomad community does put on events sometimes, or just get-togethers where they help each other build out their rigs. So, and it's all free. They don't, everybody, if you have materials that you want to donate, they say, okay, we got this pile up here. There's flooring, there's whatever you need, come get it, whatever. And so that was my first nomad event, and it was just magical because everybody was out there to help each other, help everybody else with their rig, building shelves for people, building like somebody built a bed for me in the back. So things like that. That was my first event, and I met so many different people. And now those are the people that this year I've been camping with every now and then. I still like being by myself, so I do camp by myself when it's time for me to get work done. But if somebody's saying, "Hey, we're hanging out at this river in Wyoming, you want to come?" I was like, "Okay, I'll be there." And then I just drive, and we just drive and meet each other. Or if somebody's already camped there, then we'll just go and drive and hang out with them, and then leave. Everybody leaves whenever they want to leave, whenever they're tired of that area, or there's not internet. So you're like, okay, I can do the weekend, but that's it. So it's been that kind of a year. This has been the year of relationships for me because, like, they had the van build. Right after the van build, they had Schoolie Palooza, which is an event that they've been having for a long time. It's just most of the people who got school buses, they come together and they just socialize, or they help each other with improvements on their on their buses or whatever. But everybody's invited. So I went to Schoolie Palooza. All the people that were at the van build went to Schoolie Palooza, so we were able to continue to get to know each other. And then once that event was over, you could there's events going out throughout the year, but we kind of all went our separate ways. Then we met up again in one location. We all went our separate ways. Then we met up again in another location, and we all went our separate ways. And that's eventually how it's been. It's since earlier this year. So it's been interesting to me because I didn't expect that at all. I was, my first year I was completely in solitude. Then all of a sudden I got a bunch of friends on the road. Just that quick.
Yeah. Were they mostly, I mean, was it the van build that you went to, was it sort of mixed or was it all white? Were they very welcoming? Are there and is there a thriving Black community out there?
That's a good question. It was mostly white. It was definitely mostly white. Because there's some black people. I didn't meet some black people until Schoolie Palooza. Because it's such a huge event that it's almost like you kind of guarantee you got to meet at least one or two. There's got to be one or two of us out floating around. So there were, I would say there was a group of ladies. They all had their own rigs, but they were kind of in a one area. So I talked to them. Each of them had been on the road at different stages, like in 1 year, 2 year, just getting on the road type of deal. There was one black lady that was at the van build, and we're friends now too. But I think it was just her and I at the actual van build. It was just we're the only two black people. And then at Schoolie Palooza, I would say there was those women. I think it was three of them, and then there was a guy. Uh, there was one other lady too, but she wasn't very friendly. But the other people were friendly. That was it for Schoolie Palooza. I haven't seen any more of us out here, but I do see channels like YouTube channels of more black people. I just haven't seen them at events yet, but I've only been to those two events too, so it just
Right.
depends. But it felt welcoming because there's girl there's a lot of people in this community, like different people. So that's being black is kind of almost like hardly the odd the odd thing to be. There's a lot of creative people, I'll say, out here. So I felt like people were very welcome of those people too. Like there was just a lot of different types of people out, and nobody seemed to care. But then, then again, it's a different type of atmosphere as well.
Mhm. I mean, to me, it sounds like, you're kind of an introvert. So if someone is introverted, like how do you go about making friends? Did you just walk up to people while
Mm,
you were at these events like, "Hey, I like your
yeah,
van."
what's funny is like it might seem like, I guess it seemed like I'm an introvert because I like to camp by myself a lot. But girl, I'm chatty. I'm a chatty person. Like I could chat for a long time. I don't really think I would necessarily be considered an introvert, but I'm typically not going to go up to strangers and just introduce myself. So I'll put it that way. But if I make like for instance, if I make it a point to go to an event, then I'm all in it. Like, so I went and I immediately met the host, the people that was hosting it. Like I drove up to them and introduced myself. And then they were saying, okay, so this person right here is going to help with woodworking. This person right here is going to help with if you need any kind of mechanical work. So they kind of helped out with that as far as saying who can help with what. And then I was like, okay, well, I have these materials I could donate to people. And so then you get to know people if they're coming to either get something from you, or you need to go to them to get help or something like that. So that was kind of a good way to get to know people in that regard. Um, Other types of events and gatherings to me have not been easy because you dealing with a lot of different personalities. And I kind of feel like some people, even if they invite you to come hang out with them, to come, I've had this happen a couple times where they invite you to come camp with them, and then when you get there, they don't talk to you. And I was like, "That's strange.
Oh.
I'm from the South. We don't do stuff like that." So, like, that's strange. That's strange to me. I mean, we're chatty, we sociable, and if you invite somebody over, you don't then like ghost them. So it was strange. I've had that happen a couple times, and I'm not sure what that's about, but there's a
Hmm.
lot of different personalities out here, so I guess kind of chalked it up to that. But for the
Hmm.
most part, like I said, there's a lot of different personalities. Some people don't get along, just because there's people out here with mental problems, and you have a choice to make. You don't have to be around them if you don't want to. That's why we have vehicles. We can just pack up and go. So there's not been too much drama out here, but there's just stuff like that where people don't get along and stuff like that because there's like I said, different personalities. Uh, but I haven't had any issues out here when it comes to that. People have been friendly to me. But I do observe. I like to do
Hmm.
that when I get into especially groups and stuff where everybody's at the campfire and everybody's doing that kind of thing. I do like to sometimes not say anything and just watch people and how they treat each other and how they treat other people.
Right. Well, so what's your long range, do you think? Like, is this like for a couple of years? Do you really love being on the road like this? I mean, might you do this for the long haul?
I think I would do it for the long haul. My thing is I will do it for as long as it's possible to do it. I don't want because I feel like sometimes the future seems very unsure, a little bit uncertain, like right at this second. So I don't want anything to interfere with this because this is really, to be honest, I'm happy like every day, even if things are not perfect. I've had my alternator go out on me, my heat go out on me, like things like that. And while I was out in the desert, and I still didn't get depressed about it. Like, so this, when I'm out here, I am happy, like truly happy, just because I'm free. It's not even just because this is so magical. I mean, it's magical out here, but it's not because just because I'm in a vehicle and I'm just out on the road. It's a lot of different things that make me happy. I'm free. I get to decide what I'm going to do with my time every day. Even though I got a job now, a regular 9 to 5 now, still my attitude about it is different. Like, so everything about this lifestyle has made me a happier person. And even if I think about going to another country, I'm constantly thinking about if I move to this country, how can I do van life? like, like seriously. I'm like, if I want to go there, I want to see. And I've seen some people doing van life in Ecuador, and I'm like, oh man, I should have thought of that, but I
Yeah.
didn't think about it.
Well, I don't know.
So
Can you drive to Ecuador from here or?
you can drive to South America from here, but when you get to Panama, you have to take a ship around the Darien Gap. That's
Yeah.
just the one disconnect is that you can't get through Panama
But
driving.
your car goes on the boat, right?
Right, so you put your vehicle on the boat, which is what people do, and then they keep going on the Pan American Highway.
Yeah.
And
So there you go. You got a
yeah,
plan in a
I
couple of
thought of
years.
I definitely thought about doing it. I definitely want to go into Mexico. I definitely want to go to Belize, driving it. And yeah, there's a lot of different possibilities, but for sure I think long term that this is definitely the answer for me. And right now I just can't mentally even think about being stationary somewhere. Because there's a person here in Arizona, a couple who really offered to all of us. We met them at the van build to we could stay at their house at any time. It's like an open house. And so a lot of us have been coming in, and that's actually where I was like for the past month. Is just kind of going back and forth, but I can't stay at their house. And they have a really beautiful, nice upscale house, but I just can't stay still. Like when I'm in a house, I was like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm in prison or something. And it's like it doesn't matter how nice the house is. I just can't. I would rather be in there, even if I was staying there a couple days. I'm in my van in their driveway. I don't have to be, but and all of us do it. Like when people, like I got friends and buses that come and they stay there too. We're all in our vehicles in or our rigs or whatever in their driveway. It's- and it's like that's what's different about explaining to people when they invite you over, because they still in their minds think that there's something less about being in a vehicle. And even if you're telling them you're having the time of your life and you love it, in their mind they still can't grasp the concept that if you they invite you to their house, they want you to come in, and you're like, no, I want to. I'd like I can come in and we can hang out, but I would rather sleep in my van or, because this is our home. So
Mm-hmm.
you asking me to you sleep in your bed, your guest bed, or come sleep in my own bed. I'd rather sleep in my own bed.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's across the board. I mean, me and all the other nomads, we talk about that all the time. It's just, it's not a lesser life. We enjoy this life. So if we come to your house, it's that's not that we don't like your house. It's just a comfort thing. Like we were comfortable in the house we built specifically for ourselves. We just brought it with us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, so how do you maintain, life on the road? Like, are you still working? Can you, is there anything you want us to promote? Where can people ask you questions or buy stuff from you or what?
Oh, that's a good question. um, so when I first hit the road, I had all house sitting I was doing. I didn't really have to pay for a whole lot of things. So I had money saved up because I was working a full-time job that paid well in IT. And so I just saved all that money up. So that's pretty much what I was living off of the first year. So, well, actually almost the entire 2 years I've been out. And I only recently got another job because there's when you're living off your savings, that's all well and good and stuff. But I got to a point where it's like, okay, I had already had a cutoff on when I would return to work or when I would start building a business. So I got to that cutoff and I was like, okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and get a job. So I've done that, which is fine. However, it's not something I want to do long term, just because it does change the dynamics in a way that is not within my life goals. So it's fine for now. But on the other hand, I am always building other businesses because I enjoy that as well. That's another kind of hobby of mine. So I have different things that I do or try to do, like voiceovers and things like that. But what I'm focusing on right now is
You
I
do
have
have a lovely voice, I gotta say. This is gonna
oh
be a great podcast to listen to.
oh thank you. I appreciate it. and it, that's funny. I I do like I like doing the voiceover work, and then I thought it would be fun. Because if you think about it, like even just auditioning is fun. I mean, and it's not something that would, hurt you to have to do. And if you're out on the road, it's almost like the perfect thing you can do is just, audition every now and then and see for things. And it's no sweat off your brow if you don't get it. And it's just something that's fun to do. So I really like doing that. And then I have two t-shirt businesses that I started. Um, and I wanted to focus on the things that I'm most passionate about. So the first one is Earthfully, and it's kind of focused on minimalist art. So a lot of the designs that I have on the t-shirts are watercolors, and they're nature based. So animals and insects and things like that. and plants and stuff are the designs, and they're minimalist. So um, there's not a whole lot of stuff on the shirt because ultimately I keep talking about how different I of a person I am. I'm a minimalist. I'm not one of those people though that don't have anything. I do have things, but they're only the things that I really love. Like I have a huge camera collection. So it's like there's things like I'll have like next to nothing in terms of furniture and stuff like that. When I did have an apartment and whatnot, but when it came to the things that I love, I go in it all the way. I have music, a lot of music equipment, a lot of recording equipment, and photography stuff. I have a storage unit and it's all photography stuff. So when I like something, I like it. So basically I have the Earthfully business where I'm just focused on things that are minimal, and they're also limited edition because I really also don't want to contribute to fast fashion. The shirts are all made on demand. So they don't get made unless somebody actually orders them. I'm not going to keep stock of something and just have shirts around that aren't being used. Nobody wants to buy them, that kind of thing. So that's the first business is Earthfully, and the website for that is earthfully.style. It's not a .com, it's a .style. And the second one is one I recently started because I feel like when it comes to our carnivore diet, I am completely inspired by you, by the way. And I feel
Thank
like
you.
you're welcome. I feel like I need to contribute in some way. And I also, for myself, want to stay motivated because I really have seen some tremendous benefits from eating this way. And also, like I was mentioned before, that I'm naturally a carnivore eater. When I was growing up, I would only eat the meat off my plate and then be forced to eat the rest of the stuff. And that was consistent. And I was always like fighting against that. But there was, regardless, everybody's different and that kind of thing. But regardless, my body was telling me, you need to eat you need to eat this way. You don't need to eat 3 times a day, and you need to focus primarily on eating meat. And it took me a lot of years. I'm 47 right now, and I feel like I wasted a lot of my years not understanding my true self and what my body was telling me. And once I started listening to it, then I started to see the benefits of that. And so my business that I just recently started was to promote a carnivore diet through fashion. So I have another. It's primarily t-shirts, but I also have like muscle shirts and leggings and rash guards and sports bras and things like that. So there's a variety of sportswear as well, because I'm also combining it with success stories. So I want to hear from other people eventually of just their success with the carnivore diet and to showcase those successes. I also have a directory that I'm building of farms that raise grass-fed meats and wild caught seafood, all of the natural stuff. And I'm going to put that into an easy to search directory so that people can know where these farms are in the United States.
Oh my
Um,
God, black carnivores are gonna love that information. So both the t-shirts and as well as the directory. So let me know. I will promote it. I'll do everything I can to be helpful.
Thank you. I will definitely let you know. I'm just getting that together, especially with the directory. It's going to take a little bit for me to get all of them listed, and also there's going to be meat profiles so that if you need to know what kind of nutrients a particular meat has, I want that to also be discoverable on the page. So I have a whole meat section where I'm going to be working with some people to put together that information. So as a resource for people, and that should include a lot of meats that we're not used to eating, and that's kind of a big you know thing for me as well, is to try to educate people on different types of meats that they're not used to eating, like wild game and um, or different types of meats from that they don't necessarily find in their own country. But if you go abroad and you go, visit someplace, you can try some of the different meats out and stuff as well. So I want to put that together, and I already built it as far as the feature on the website and everything. Um, I just want to see eventually where it can go as far as supporting people who are trying to live this lifestyle, as well as some of the extra stuff as far as I'm gonna try to work some weightlifting stuff in there some type of way, because I really love there's not a whole lot of exercising I like to do, but swimming and weightlifting, those are my two things. So
Nice.
so I'm gonna try to work some weightlifting into that as well. And that one's called nomadicmeat.com.
Okay.
Because I'm a
And
nomad.
so what is the nomadic community like? I mean, it seems like when I watch these YouTube videos that, everyone is sort of vegan or vegan adjacent. So how do people look at
Yes.
you eating your all meat and yeah.
Yes, that you're correct. There are a lot of vegans out, but they're respectful, and there's also a lot of people who just eat whatever, and they're respectful. Like when we're at the van build, that was my first experience in the nomad community, and uh, realizing that they do a lot of community meals. So it just group meals, some people will cook this and they're like, oh, it's for everybody, tacos and all this, different stuff. And so it was kind of interesting. I said to the group, I only eat meat. And it's funny because they heard, to them, they didn't translate that I said I only eat meat. They translated it into I don't eat any meat. And so they were like, "Oh, so you're vegan then? That's fine." And I was like, "No, you didn't hear me." Like I said it like
Oh
that. So
my God.
it's
That's
just
a
fun.
significant difference.
It is, and it's funny that that was so automatic for them. Like it was more than one person. Like they legitimately heard what I said, but in their mind turned it into I don't eat meat. And I was like, nope, I only eat meat. And they were like, oh, okay, cool. And that nobody gave me any type of debate or anything about it. They were like, oh, that's cool. And then one day they were ordering pizza. They're like, we're gonna order pizza and stuff like that. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm not gonna partake. And they're like, okay, cool. They came back with the pizzas, and this one guy came over and just handed me a giant thing of chicken.
So he heard you.
Yes, yes. You heard me a
He was
giant
like, I'm
thing
going
of
to stop at the KFC because I know she
chicken.
said she didn't want pizza.
Yes, and it was edible chicken. It didn't have breading or anything on it, so I could eat it. So it was cool.
Excellent.
Yeah, so it was cool. They don't give me a hard time. And actually, one of the women that came to the van build, she's on the keto diet, and she's an older
Hmm.
woman. I think she's in her 60s or something like that. And when I had fallen off the wagon, and I felt, remember when you guys were doing that 60-day challenge thing, where they did
Hmm.
that or 60 or 90-day challenge thing, and I fell off the wagon pretty quick, and I was like, I'm
Hmm.
done.
Yeah.
Um, I had gone to hang out with her because she had gotten a camp hosting job, which is another option for people out here on the road, by the way. If you can actually host at a campsite, and they'll pay you for the season, and all basically you're just checking people into their campsite. I mean, sometimes there's like
Ah.
trash pickup duties or whatever, and a lot of people do that. Like they'll do that for the season, and then so they collect that, they save that money, and then they are off doing their own thing after the camping season at that particular campground. So I went to see her because she was camp hosting at this campground up in Utah, northern Utah, and we hung out and stuff. And she asked me if I was still doing carnivore, and I said I fell off the wagon. And she didn't say anything negative to me. She just, said, I'm still doing the keto. I've lost, I think she had lost like something like 45, 50 pounds or something like that. And she was like, I'm just still chugging at it. And it just kind of clicked for me to try it again, to keep trying.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
and just her positivity, it was like, oh yeah, let me get back on it. It reminded me that there's somebody else out here that's doing low carb too. There's somebody else out here that, and she's still sticking to it. So I went back to the carnivore and stuck to it.
But do you get like really bad symptoms when you fall off of it? Like, I can't imagine going off of it again because I feel so much better on it.
Yeah, and that's what's kind of a trip is I actually feel quite awful. Like, and then when it happens, I'm like angry at myself because I'm like, you're like laid up in bed suffering right now because you ate that thing that you didn't have to eat. And it's almost like some weird psychological or some addictive type of deal where I feel like that's been one of those struggles is acknowledging that there's some level of addiction there, because like when you keep doing something that makes you physically bad, like instantly feel bad instantly, you would think, oh, stop doing it. And it's like, so I stopped doing it for a while and forget that it made me feel that awful, and then do it, and then I'm back to feeling like death instantly. And so it is a struggle, something that I keep battling with, but I am doing well.
What do you think
Um,
is something that triggers you?
mm, I think there's a
I
couple
mean, you talked
things,
about your travel days.
right? So there's some days, if lack of preparation, like if I don't plan to cook something, like if I don't thaw something out, because then if you wait too late, then the thing is not thawed out, and then you're like, what am I going to eat? So not preparing for that day of eating. The other thing is not eating enough, so I find myself hungry.
Mm-hmm.
Not thinking that I would be hungry again. So not eating enough. Sometimes it's hormonal because I'm approaching menopause. Uh, so sometimes it's hormonal, but I don't think it's that as much as it is of lack of preparation, and sometimes even boredom. Um,
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I was wanting to do when I get my ambulance is to make sure I have a way of dehydrating and canning meats, because I kind of feel
Mm.
like I really need to focus on solving my readily available food problem, because it doesn't matter if you get snacky and you want to eat something, as long as what you have the snack and eat on is what you need to eat for carnivore.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm
Well,
finding
do you
that.
have an air fryer? Like, how would you make jerky?
So when I get the ambulance, I can have an air fryer for sure. I'll
Mm.
have, because I already plan to put like an obscene amount of solar on the roof and have the space to do it because it's an ambulance, and because right now I can only fit 300 on the roof of my van,
Oh,
limited
I
space.
see. So it's the power that's the limitation in your van, not the
Right,
space. Okay.
right. And so with more power in the ambulance, then I can definitely have an air fryer. So that's the plan. Here I just have to buy it. There's this one guy who did jerky using his diesel heater, but I'm not gonna try that.
Mm.
You
Yeah.
could do it, but I mean, let's let it. But I'm never in a place cold enough. He's in Canada, so he can run his for like X amount of hours, and not burn up. But like, I'm never in a place cold enough where I could run it for hours and hours and dehydrate something.
Uh,
Um,
uh.
but I think it's that. And you know, uh, I think that those are big contributing factors. Just being bored sometimes and not having carnivore friendly, boredom snacks available. Not preparing enough. So like if I thaw something out and cook it for the day, not thawing out something else in case I get hungry. I could
It
always.
might be worth it for you to get a cooler or something so that you can have some leftovers or
Right,
something that can hold for a day or two, because it does sound like your hunger is going to vary from day to day, and
right.
you need to have a little bit of that flexibility.
Yeah, and to be honest, the freezer actually has that. I haven't connected the dots until recently. Like, because the
Mm.
freezer, the main compartment is all like, if you set it to freeze, it'll freeze everything in it. But there's a smaller compartment that's really
Oh,
tiny that you can
okay.
thaw stuff out in. And
So
I
you
do.
need to keep 1 pound in the small container, compartment, and then
Yes.
you can eat off of that as you need more or less, throughout the day.
Yeah, I definitely need to do that, and I need to get the film that I have in because this is the kind of stuff that I do. Like, my freezer, my little refrigerator compartment is full of film because I shoot
Oh,
on film. So I was like, let me just put that in there.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, I definitely going forward, because I'm just in a different mindset now of what I'm planning on doing. I bought all this new equipment so I can start working out and stuff, like lifting weights and stuff, because on the road I use resistance bands um
Mm-hmm.
to lift, and I want to combine that with the nutrition aspect of it. So
Mm-hmm.
I will have to do that going forward, of putting stuff in that little refrigerator compartment, and keeping it thawed out so that I can not be hungry, because it is that, when I think about it, it's not, sometimes the cravings are there, but I feel like those are the hormonal days where I get these like crazy cravings for stuff,
Mm-hmm.
even stuff that I normally wouldn't eat. But all the other failures have come from a lack of preparation on my part.
Mm. Yeah. Well, then, it might be worth it to, reevaluate your equipment, get some other equipment if that would be helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Um, order around. Like, you can probably, from those some of those places where at least you get pork meat, you could probably get pork rinds or cracklings that are made fresh.
Yeah, I want some
Um,
alligator meat too.
you could, yes. There you go. That's another thing.
You make some jerky out of that.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, the
Well,
power. Mhm.
uh-huh. No, go
I
ahead.
I would say the power issue. Yeah, I can. Once I'm able to beef up the power too, I'm gonna get an air fryer. Then I can make my own jerky and stuff like
Hmm.
that. So that'd be cool.
Yeah. Well, I've kept you on for 2 hours. I cannot believe we've talked this long. Um, I am absolutely fascinated by your life, and I really appreciate your opening up and answering, my questions with such candor and patience. For someone who doesn't know anything about it, it's really helpful to have somebody like break it down from, the beginning. And I'm sure there's so many other questions that people listening have that I haven't touched on. But if people want to ask you more, like, can they contact you? Where should they do it? How do you want to do that?
Yes. So people from the group can just contact me directly in the group on Facebook.
Hmm.
I'm cool with that. Um, Anyone else can actually contact me on nomadicmeat.com, because I'm definitely going to be, there's a contact form on there. They can send me any kind of question that they want, or they like, and yeah, I think that'd be a good avenue as well if they have any questions.
That's awesome. Thank you, Cherie. Like, this has been just really amazing. And for everybody listening today, I hope you enjoyed this conversation and you reach out, you support her, get some t-shirts, check out all of her social media and look for places where you can support. And it's just great to see us, out there on the road. And I really want everyone to support you in whatever way they can.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me on the show. It was fantastic. I don't think I've talked to anybody that's not nomadic about this, extensively. Like, my friends and family, they're curious. They see my pictures that I post, and they were with me there, there in spirit. The whole first year I was out. That was awesome. But it's nice to be able to talk to people who are both carnivore, and anybody who might be considering getting out on the road and changing your life.
Yeah, excellent. Well, thank you so much. And everyone who's listening, I hope you enjoy, and I will see you all next week.